Education.
School Board meeting for Monday, October 21st, 2019. If you can join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We do have a sign-up sheet in the back of the room. If you would like to make a comment regarding action items or general comment at the end of our meeting. Moving on to our agenda, our approvals, deletions, and additions. Dr. Bracco.
Thank you, Mr. Baxo. We do have a couple of revisions to the agenda under Roman numeral 7.4 under mine and under Roman numeral 7B1 under Mrs. Mucha. Otherwise, the rest of it is as initially published on Thursday.
So moved.
We have a motion from Dr. Malcolm, and I will second that motion because we don't have a lot of board members here this evening. Any comments or questions regarding the approvals, deletions, or additions? Okay, hearing none, let's take a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Is there any correspondence this evening?
No.
Thank you very much. I think I will table the liaison committee updates to our next meeting, or else you have something very important.
Well, just to remind you that American Education Week is the week of November 18th.
Okay.
And I think, Larry, you've always worked with Jeremy to do the banners, right, for the schools?
Yes.
Okay. Short notice, but, and I'm not sure what the theme is. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for that.
And the only thing I have is Dollars for Scholars with the Mentor Program is hosting their annual Ghouls at the School on Tuesday, October 29th, 4:30 to 6:30. 8th grade and under, $6 per trick-or-treater. Come on, and there's contests, games, dancing, and it's all indoors.
Great. All right, thank you. And I have nothing to share from the Parks Department or the Development Committee. Moving on to our official school board business topics, our consent agenda. Dr. Bracco.
Thank you again, Mr. Baxo. Seek board approval for the minutes from our work session from last time, our executive session, our regular board meeting, and then the claims, payroll, and extracurricular expenditures you received in your packets.
Move to approve.
A motion from Ms. Suze. And I will second that motion. Any comments or questions? All right, hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Now we're seeking a public comments regarding action items.
Jeannie says no.
Hearing none, we shall move on to our official school board business topics for this evening. Our regular agenda, Dr. Bracco.
Thank you again. My first item is to seek board approval for the policies that we reviewed at our work session 2 weeks ago. And I'd ask that the board approve those policies that we discussed, number 1A through P.
So moved.
Okay, we have a motion from Dr. Malcolm
Second.
and a second from Ms. Suze. Any comments, questions to Dr. Bracco regarding all of those action items? All right, hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you. My next item is to introduce the Lake Central Education Foundation co-presidents, Louise Talent and Sue Schweitzer, maybe Mike Selgin, whoever is coming up to read the awards. Melody Wolf.
Nice to see you again. My cohorts here, Louise and Sue and Mike. Okay, where do you want to be? Here? Okay, we're dancing around. Okay, thank you again for allowing us to come. We had a total of 9 grants this time, totaling $3,994.89, which I think is woo-hoo, fantastic. We're close to cumulative, we're at 299,286. That's like, oh, I'm great, okay. First one I'm so excited. First one is Jennifer Zollman. Okay, Jennifer has built a bot. She's from Watson for $500. Students will employ STEM cooperatively using problem solving to design and construct a variety of devices. So, Ms. Jennifer. Next we have, oh, sorry. Next we have Karen Cruz with first grade. We have Mary and Eileen also. From Beach for $391, leveled books for independent reading. Students will have a variety of high-interest books to read at their independent reading level, which is a crucial thing for especially first grade. So ladies. Okay, enjoy those books. Okay. We have Miss Sherry Thompson from Watson for $494. What is my fraction? 4 classes of 3rd grade will use 3 sets of fraction tower cubes for hands-on investigations for fractions and equivalent fractions. The towers can also be used for converting fractions to decimals for enrichment, which I think is very interesting.
Me too. I need them too, yeah, thank you.
Forget your check.
Yeah, I need them, yeah, thank you.
Okay, Miss Allison Castles from Clark, she's the one that has all these interesting units. For $394, successful Socratic seminars, okay? Education is kindling of a flame, not the filling of a vessel. These words spoken by Socrates truly illustrate what I want to accomplish with using seminars to guide and deepen my students' learning through our Holocaustic unit. Rather than just having them sit in the classroom as passive learners, I want them to become involved and engaged, sparking their own learning paths. So, thank you, Allison. I hope that's And is Lynn here from TAP?
No, she's not.
She's not here? Okay. Other grants that we had given, Lynn from TAP was Growing Independence Harvesting Knowledge Initiative. They're having a Tower of Growing system to help with learning about health, wellness, and independence, which is interesting. Aubrey Nelson is Habits of High Effective Learning, High Effective Teens, a set of books. Paul Hickey is Beginning Drum Skills over at Piper. And he sent a nice note saying sincerely thank you to the grant committee. And then Mr. Vincent Pucci is getting an iRobot to help him in his classroom. And Jennifer Bohr is also coding with Q's, which is a robot also. So, oh, Ms. Grimali, you want to pick hers up?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. In addition, this is for TAP for Lynn. In addition of the Tower Growing System to TAP, it will encourage the discovery and critical thinking of providing healthy, essential fruits and vegetables to teach health, well-being, independence, job skills, and the environment with stating accreditation curriculum. So it goes along with the curriculum. So, thank you.
Thank you to the teacher. No, I'm fine.
Just give her the check.
I will pass that on to the appropriate people.
And we're on TV. Yes.
Thank you.
Once again, thank you so much. Thank you for your support.
Yeah, I'm very lonely.
You know, Education Foundation committee members, thank you so much, because this is all volunteer time. They get absolutely no pay for doing this. So thank you for all your commitment to this, all these years, all this money.
Anybody else wants to join?
Yeah, we love to be volunteers. We pay nothing, but that's okay. Right, Mr. Guest? Thank you.
Yes, we're moving on.
Okay, my third item this evening is just to give the board a brief review of the town hall meetings that were conducted over the last month in the Sherrville Dyer branch of the Lake County Library, Representative Chung asked me to present with him and carved out 30 minutes of his 90 minutes for me to give a brief update on what's happening at the schools and then to take questions from the audience. I think the crowd was about 13 each at the first two meetings, and then we had somewhere between 25 and 30 people at the last one. So, you know, I did give the audience an update on some of the use of the referendum funds with security, with additional classroom supports in the form of teachers' aides, with additional counselors and social workers, and then talked about the upcoming teacher raise without giving details, and talked about a few other things. But I think it's important that as we look at the upcoming legislative session, rather, that we try to focus on some of the key topics and that we be prepared to take turns to either write letters to our legislators, attend the rally down in Indianapolis, be active as in the last session we did a little bit better, but we still have needs in public schools, and we still continue to see a lot of money be carved away for other school systems that don't take every child. And anybody who's heard me talk about this, I always like to say, we do the Lord's work. We accept every child and do the best we can to maximize their ability. And so we need to stay active. And when I get the opportunities to visit with people, I try to take them, because I do think it helps anytime we can talk about the good things we're doing in our public school system here at Lake Central. So any particular questions from any board member about that or what's coming up?
Well, if I could say something to my fellow board members here, I know I had mentioned, I believe last time we met, that I feel that we as a board should write some supportive letters to our legislators or the governor or whomever, but I didn't want to pursue that until you had some time to think about it, and so we need to have some dialogue about that in the very near future.
Okay. Yeah, let's definitely do that. Let's have some dialogue about what we're going to write.
Yeah, I mean, do
What
we
that
want
goes
to address, I mean, you know, I think Mr. Chung that night, at least at the Dyer-Shoga Library, had the flyer, the handout that showed the amount of money that has gone to public ed versus charters and the big disparity that's there. Do we want to address that? Do we want to address some of this crazy stuff that's going on with the testing? Do we want to address everything, you know, both of those issues? We need to have some thoughts about that. So I'll send out a reminder email, and then maybe we could get that on the agenda for the next board meeting.
Yeah.
Would that work?
Sounds good.
Okay,
Great.
thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for taking time out to do that, Dr. Rocco.
My
I was
pleasure.
at the last one, and it was very informative.
Okay, my final item this evening is to seek board approval for the collective bargaining agreement. It has been posted on our website in the form that we seek approval for a couple weeks now, because we posted it 3 business days before our last meeting, so it's been up for over 2 weeks. And, you know, we have not had any comments from the public at either those 2 opportunities or this evening. So seek board approval on the collective bargaining agreement at this time.
I would be more than happy to make that motion.
Okay. Motion from Dr. Malco,
Second.
second from Ms. Seuss. Any comments or questions? Let's go ahead and vote on it. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Yeah, yeah.
That's it for me.
All right, thank you, Dr. Bracco. Moving on to our Director of Human Resources, Carrie Mucha.
I just had to finish watching Nick celebrate in the back. We're recommending that the following retirement and classical appointments be approved.
Move to approve.
We have a motion from Ms. Seuss, and I will second that motion. Any comments, questions regarding those personnel recommendations? I know there were some changes there right at the last minute, some addendums to that, so. All right. I think, hearing none, we'll take a vote on it. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you very much. I also have 2 professional leave requests 2 for our school resource officers for their basic level. and for our food service director to attend the annual conference.
Move to approve.
A motion for Ms. Seuss, and I will second that motion. Any comments or questions? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
I also wanted to just spend a couple of minutes updating you on the Corporation Safety Committee. It is comprised of a representative from each school. Some of the schools have more than one representative, all 5 of our SROs. There's teachers on it, administrators, deans, a little bit of everything's on there. We meet monthly. We have approximately 20 to 28 people that show up at every single meeting. I think that's fantastic. Yeah, I'm very, no, this was just my notes, I'm sorry. We also invited this last time Campania to come, and so for the last 2 meetings, 2 representatives from Campania have come also. So the way we put together the agenda is the 5 SROs and myself meet a week before that. We put together what we think should be on the agenda, and then we send it out to everybody. And then we have elementary add things, middle school add things, and high school add things, because the needs are so different at all the different levels. But I wanted to tell you just a couple of the things that we've accomplished within this last year. We've had lockdowns at Protzman, the high school, and very soon at Holman, that have involved the fire and police departments. We plan on completing these drills at Clark, Grimmer, and Watson this year, and our goal is to have 2 of these extensive drills each semester. Every school has to have a drill within the first 60 days, but these are drills that are much more complicated and invite the town participates with us. So if there's ever a concern, they know the school and they know how to handle that. Then we have a debriefing session afterwards, and we talk about what went well and what didn't go well. And of course, there's always things that don't go well, and that's why we have practices, so that we can learn what didn't work well and things that we want to improve on next time. For the Protzman drill, we even had some FBI people from Indianapolis attend, and they were very complimentary. Wish that more schools did the types of drills that we were doing with our schools. One of the other things that we're doing is the principals and their SRO will be touring the outside of the buildings. We have a checklist from Homeland Security, and they're going to be going over that checklist and deciding what needs to be done on the outside of school. I know we concentrate a lot on the inside, but we also have to do the outside. They'll be doing those this fall. We have action plans for our reunification site. In fact, our committee took a field trip last year to the reunification site and helped us plan out where all the different groups would be if, hopefully never, but if we ever do have to have a reunification. They've worked really hard on making the maps and seeing where everybody would go during that process. During that time also, we've started to come up with an advance team, the teams that were not affected by any kind of tragedy that would go to the reunification site and help them get organized and get them ready for parents to pick up. One of the things that they did, Officer Kissinger was kind of in charge with, is the go-to bags. When we first came, we noticed that they were a little bit different in every school and had different supplies on there. So we researched what would go into a go-to bag. We bought new bags. We put them in approximately the same place in each school, and they had the same supplies in each one. So that's been standardized for all of our schools. We also did a Stop the Bleed training with everybody on our committee. They came by and showed us how to use these tourniquets so that at least we have one person in each building. Our goal is to write some grants, get some money, or maybe just somebody would like to donate. And we would like to have perhaps 4 or 5 of these in each one of the schools so that we would be ready. And then at that point, we would train some more of the people. We were thinking that perhaps someone would love to advertise by putting their name across. We supplied the Stop the Bleed carriers in each school, but we haven't had any takers yet, but we're certain we will. So we just wanted to tell you, I'm so proud of this committee. It is full attendance every time. They work really hard. They come with their ideas and they take it very seriously. So I'm very lucky to be a member of that. And our SROs are fantastic. So I just wanted to let you know the things that we're doing.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm very glad that, our SROs are, they're very proactive,
Very.
like you said, in our school system. And just glad that we have such a good group put together for this school safety committee. Just seeing those other municipalities coming out to see what's
very proud of them.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to our Director of Primary Education, Teresa Shaw.
Thank you. My first item is to seek your approval of the professional leave requests that were included in your packet. So moved.
I have a motion from Dr. Malcolm, and I will second that motion. Any comments or questions regarding the leave request? Hearing none, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you. My next item is to seek your approval for the field trip request that was also in your packet.
Move to approve.
So motion from Ms. Sims, and I will second that motion. Any comments or questions regarding the field trips? Actually, I think I would like to go along on one of those field trips.
Sure.
From what I understand is to Washington DC. Is that the one?
No, I'm sorry.
That's the
Ours
next.
are, we're going to South Suburban College to see.
Okay, I'll wait on the next field trip.
But since you volunteered.
Yeah.
You're in.
So now I'm in, I'm a chaperone, right? Okay, let's-
What I say?
we have a motion and a second on that, right, Craig?
Yeah, I think we're
I
good.
think we're good on that. All right, let's take a vote on that. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you. My third item is to, I've invited Kathy Tucker here to share some information. Last spring, the DOE contacted me and asked if we would host a multi-tier system of support workshop here. Krautzman was the facility that fit their needs. Kathy Sapita, the principal there, was unable to oversee it, and I was not in the corporation that day, so I asked Kathy Tucker to take that over and be supervised, make sure everything was going well. So she is going to just share some information about that.
Welcome.
Good evening, members of the board and administration, and thank you for allowing me to just give you a few pointers from the workshop that I was able to attend, and thank you, Mrs. Schoen, for letting me attend it. So I had the opportunity to attend the Department of Ed sponsored regional training that was held at Protzman, and there was probably about 70 to 80 people there, so it was large, and they were from across the region. It wasn't just Lake Central in attendance. They had 3 trainers there, Christy Berger, Tracy Mansfield, and Jennifer Jensen. They were extremely knowledgeable and helpful. Just throughout the whole day, they would answer questions at any time that anybody had any. With the multi-tiered system of support, that's being part of ESSA, it's a comprehensive structure framework working with the success of the whole child. That's meaning the academic side, the behavioral side, and the social and emotional learning side of the child. So listening to the presenters, it was very comforting to know that here at Lake Central, we've implemented many of these techniques already and strategies, and we're using them. We've worked within the levels of support and the tiers, especially academically and with behaviorally, but we still have that social and emotional piece that we're really working on now. They did say the northern area of the state is farther along than the other parts of the state. You know, there are the people there and the questions they asked and how to implement these things. They did say that coming up north was always more inviting, and we were more on the same page that they were compared to the southern part of the state. I would say that even from my standpoint too, we've been very good at looking at the academic side and the behavioral side, but it's that social emotional piece that we really haven't defined the tiers, I don't feel like, as well. But I have to say here at Lake Central, we've been very fortunate because administration has helped us tremendously by bringing Dr. Lori Desatella in to work with us, because that fits right in with the multi-tiered levels of support. And so we're very fortunate to have her working with our corporation. The DOE also shared a wealth of informational resources that's found on their website, and I know we've, some of our social workers that are head social workers now have gone around and presented that to some of our staff. I know I've had them there, so it tied right into what they presented. But the nice thing when they showed it to us, they showed us a very easy and effective way to find things and just a easier way to search, because it is overwhelming. There's a wealth of information there, and you could spend hours just going through their website. I would say that, like, then again, the biggest piece, and when I say we, I mean, you know, school districts in the state are finding an effective way to track data on the social and emotional piece. You know, we're pretty good at tracking that behavior data, and we're good at tracking the academic data, but that social and emotional piece is finding the right data piece to actually track that. And I know that we have some things within our school that can, the panorama can do that. And then the state also talked about having something in view, like a piece from them that would not cost us anything possibly. But they're still working on that. It's not, they don't have it rolled out and fine-tuned, so hopefully we'll be getting some more information on that. And also then just really at looking at daily schedules and how within our daily schedule, and I know the middle school's done a great job by adding the advisory, but how to actually fit that social and emotional piece in so that we're meeting the needs of all our students. So,
Any questions?
thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, and my last item is to do my annual high ability update. I know, Dr. Malco, you had asked about the progress on the goals from the evaluation, so I'm going to include some of that in there. I've shared some of it before, but I'll just refresh everybody's memory and go over everything that we have done since we had the consultants here in spring of 2017. To recap, some of the things that they found were strengths of our program were a strong identification plan, the quality of the services that we provide for students, and the use of curriculum materials that have been specifically designed for high ability students. They also share some areas that we could improve in, and those were, while we had a strong identification plan, we could make it stronger by adding a qualitative component to the plan. They thought we should revisit the practice of letting parents waiver in their middle school students into the high ability classes, always increasing communication about the program, and to look at the middle school high ability curriculum and infuse creative thinking, real world problem solving, and some hands-on learning experiences. So since that time that we got the report back and began working, we have added a qualitative measure. We now use scales for identifying gifted students, or SIGs, because everything has to have an acronym, to our plan, and that is something that is, it's norm referenced, but it is a rating scale that teachers complete on students that score at the 93rd percentile, but not the 96th, so they haven't quite scored high enough to be identified, but they're very close, and so we add that extra component just to make sure we're not missing anybody. After reviewing the waiver in policy with our middle school teachers, they too felt that it was adversely affecting the quality of that class, because we told them keep the bar high no matter if you have students that weren't identified, but they're teachers, and we all went into this profession because we care about students. So they would spend a lot of time supporting those students, and consequently the class was often slowed down, didn't get quite as far as they should have, had to not complete some of the activities that were part of the curriculum. So they agreed that that would improve our program by only having identified students in that class. So no longer can parents waiver in. And just to refresh your memory, we used to identify in kindergarten, do the test in kindergarten, second, and fourth. Since we took the waiver out, we wanted to give students a chance to qualify in middle school. So we now do kindergarten, second, and fifth grade. And move-in students, if they come with testing or if they show promise, we do what we call off-level testing. So we're always looking, trying to give everyone a fair shake at it. And we always working on sharing the good things that we're doing with our program and just basic information with parents. We, at the time that the consultants were here, we only had a first grade meeting. So for those students that were initially identified, we've added a third grade. So we do those in the summer, invite those parents in and explain the program, and they always have lots of questions. And we added a section on our corporation website. And so every year I try And then, this wasn't a part of their report, but we are finishing up our effective curriculum, which is part of the law. And we were going great guns, and now we've slowed down a little bit because we're trying to coordinate it with the SEL, the social emotional curriculum that we're putting together. But elementary does have their topics laid out. Middle school is almost there. Both middle school and elementary plan to finish that by the end of the year.
Go ahead, Beth.
Did you say that was called the affective curriculum? Affective, yes.
Affective, okay.
High ability
Okay.
students often have unique issues, perfectionism, you can imagine all of them. So the state requires us to have some curriculum that will specifically address those.
So it would be similar then to the.
It is. That's why when we started down the SEL pathway, we're like, okay, let's learn a little more. Instead of having two separate things, let's see if we can't mesh these two together.
So when you changed the waiver at the middle school, did you have any kickback from parents or questioning or?
We sure did.
Did you?
Yes.
Okay.
We rarely have it now. It's like anything. The first year that you have a change, it's horrible. And as we just explained, our reasoning, it's now become our norm. So, every year we have a few, of course, but the first year was a little difficult. But we're good now.
Now, if you would have somebody that would move into the middle school, and there's a perception perhaps by the guardian that they should be in a high ability, say math or something like that, what are the procedures that person would follow?
So if they move in, sometimes they come with testing because corporations all across the nation do some sort of testing. So if they come in with testing, even if it's not the exact test that we use, but it is one of the accepted ones, we'll look at that and that may get them in. If they come in with other data, grade cards, anything that shows an exceptional performance, not just, I tell them all the time, A's on grade level work that's not proof that we need to look at you. So we do summer testing every year. Additionally, we're always asking teachers, you see those kids every day, you let us know if you have somebody in there that, I think we've missed them or we need to take another look. And again, we'll test them either in the summer or when we do the other testing, we do, again, off-level testing. So we're always looking. We're trying to include everyone that we feel needs that curriculum.
What type of testing is that, Tracy?
We have to do an ability and an achievement. So ability, we use COGAT, and for achievement, we use Iowa.
Are you happy with the Iowa?
Yes, we get teachers, every now and then there's something that's a little wonky, but teachers feel that that it does a great job identifying the correct students.
Wonky is a cute one. But do you remember years ago, am I dreaming, or didn't we use the Iowa testing?
Yes,
Remember?
years
we did.
ago. Actually, it's been many years ago because I took the Iowa
Yeah, I
when
did
I was
too.
in grade school.
Yeah, I'm going.
It's been updated, just to let you know.
I'm just thinking that maybe that would give us more consistency than this I step the I learned or whatever we're doing. Yeah, I don't know. Just a question I had.
I did want to share, normally I share the state report card, high ability report card. They no longer do that. And so I typically gather the data and I share the percentage of students that are identified by grade level, the performance of our high ability students on state testing, and our performance of our high ability students on AP. I could not get the percentage of students identified for you because we had no internet today. So I will report on that. And I learned the state hasn't released the educator accountability report, and I really need that to make sure I've got the right students tied to the right teacher. So there will be high ability update part 2.
Part two, that's great.
Oh, okay.
And Mr. Beckley will share AP data.
Cool.
Yes, right. Thank you. Any other questions? Any questions? No? Thank you. All right, so we're moving on to our Director of Secretarial
I almost introduced, Mr. Begley is going to share the AP data.
Yes, good evening, board, administration. Good evening, gentlemen. At your workstation, I've shared with you the slide deck, so you can take copious notes if you choose. My presentation certainly is not as interesting as Mr. James's budget presentation, but it is just as long. Just to warm up. A little nervous. I'm following Mrs. Tucker presenting.
We're going to a new level of competition here in presentations.
I know,
I like that.
it's tough.
Raise the bar.
Here we go. Okay, so this is a presentation we've done for several years. It is the annual Advanced Placement Status Report. So just kind of give a rundown of what there is. There are 35 AP courses that are offered. Lake Central offers 22 of them. No real changes from the last few years except for a couple. They added computer science principles that we've added on to our course offerings. And also environmental. We did not have enough last year, but we did have enough this year. So I think going forward, we're going to probably run that on an every other year basis, so it's available for every student and we're able to get a full class. But other than that, no real changes in our course offerings here. So we do have a very nice, robust offerings. Again, also for everyone's, what AP is about. Teacher teaches the class. It is an advanced placement class, college level curriculum. At the end of that test, after the end of the year, those students take a test. It is graded on a 1 through 5 scale. 3, 4, and 5 qualifies you, well qualified or extremely well qualified. This typically will get you a college credit depending on the university. Also, we grade that here at Lake Central on a 5-point scale, on a 5 out of a 4.0 scale for the GPA. So it can, that weighted GPA, it does increase that if they do well. So just for, as an example, I just went, because people always ask me, well, what does it count for? I just picked Purdue and clicked on a couple. If you do a 3, 4, or 5 on the AP exam, it will qualify credit for these different math courses down at Purdue. Chemistry, it will qualify you for their chemistry 111. If you get a 4, you get more credit, or a 5, you get more credit, okay? Or the same credit as a 4 and 5. Can anyone guess this college? Anyone? A little trivia question? Come on. This is the clue.
Colorado.
Colorado, that's correct. This is the Buffaloes. Yeah, and this is so the point being, you can go to any college. If you just do a quick Google search, you can find out what they offer. So any student that gets a 3, 4, 5 can use that and earn the credit when they go off to college. So saving on their tuition, it also advances them into their college. Some students go there with already having freshman credit done, and they go in as a sophomore. And it also can help them get into their honors program. So it's an easy, quick Google search. You can find out.
So Mr. Begley, I have a question, because I'll forget if I don't ask you now. Is this nationwide, or is this
Yes,
more?
it's international. There are students that take this internationally.
So the Federal Department of Education monitors this in all the states? Or do you know?
I don't know. This is more College Board would. I'm sure that the federal Department of Education at the federal level tracks it. Certainly the state does. The state does do some assistance in funding it by, the state of Indiana pays for all the English, math, science, and computer science tests, so the students don't have to pay for that. So they monitor that, and I'll later on in the presentation, there's the other piece. They monitor what percentage of the cohort is earning a 3, 4, or 5 as part of our accountability.
The state does.
The state does, yes, ma'am. Okay, so here's where we are. We started looking at this in depth in 2008. This highlighted area right here, this is the 3 years. We started in 2013 working with the APTIP, Advanced Placement Teacher Investment Program. through the University of Notre Dame. We got on that grant. That's through their Institute of Educational Initiatives, and that really gave us a nice jump in the number of tests we were giving, the number of students that were participating in the testing, and the number of 3 or higher. Again, 3 or higher gets you that credit. So after that, we've started to kind of plateau, but there's nothing to be ashamed of. We're doing a really nice job. Since 2017, if you look at this, with this number of tests and these number of students, if you base this number of students, 974, 970, 947, that's about 30% of the total student population has taken an AP test. Based on our rolling number is always jumping our total enrollment, but we're usually around 3,250 for the last few years. Sometimes we bump up above 3,300, get our December grads. But if you look at this number of students taking an AP exam, it's about 30% of our student population that are taking college level course. This is an important metric I like looking at, and this is what goes into the accountability. It is what AP calls equity and excellence. It is what's considered what percentage of your cohort, each class, is taking part and meeting with success on an AP test. So if you look here in 2019, the cohort 2019, last year's seniors, 34% scored a 3 or higher on an AP test. And it's kind of ebbed and flowed. In 2014, we had 31. Our goal for the school is we want to get in that, we want to hover in between 35 and 40% per year. So we got some work to do, but we got close last year, and we want to just get into that 35 to 40%, and we think that we are performing very well. We like it when our students scrape their knees here on college level work. They go off to college where maybe hundreds of miles from home, but they scrape their knees here at LC. They're academically prepared, and we like having them come back and see our former students say, my last year at Lake Central was harder than my first year at college, and that AP curriculum really does get them ready. So in looking at this, and I'll explain this, so far I've been kind of doing a snapshot of 2019. What I did here was I looked at all of the testers from 2019. There were 948 of them. And I looked back over their entire career at Lake Central to see if they got a 3, 4, or 5 on an AP exam. So this was a different file I had to look at. And then I merged that with were they in the high ability program or not. So last year we had 948 total testers. Out of that, 368 were in the high ability, and 288 of those got a 3 or higher on an AP exam. So 78.3 of our percent of those students that were in high ability were able to get a 3 or higher. The general education students that were not, there was 581 of them that took part in an AP test. 289 of them got a 3 or higher, and for a percentage of 49.7. So then I broke it down because, again, the seniors obviously had been there 4 years, had a little more time. So if you look at the seniors from cohort 2019, 248 of them were in the high ability, 126 out of the 248 were high ability, 117 got a 3 or higher, so 92.9% of them were able to get a 3 or higher. So our high ability students are showing that they're earning college credit in high school, as compared to 63.9, which is a very respectable number of our students that are going through the general ed curriculum and are still earning college level credit here in high school. And then you can go through, this would be last year's juniors, this year's seniors, last year's sophomores, and last year's freshmen. This number here, bulk of these students are taking the AP Human Geography. So 55.9% of those students that were in the high ability earned a 3 or higher on that AP Human Geography. So I'll let you take a second. Now, again, this analysis is through their whole career. It's not just a snapshot of last year. Breakdown by scores, again, 5 is the highest, 1 is the lowest, so we had 56.5% of all our scores were 3 or higher, 43.5 was a 2 or a 1, so they did not earn college credit there. That's a bit of a dip. We've typically been above 60%, so we do want to work on that. And we are kind of plateauing at, where we've been for the last couple of years, but this has been a dip. Our number of AP scholars has gone up. We're up to 195 total scholars. AP does distinguish them. An AP scholar is anyone that gets a 3 or higher on at least 3 AP exams. With honor is a 3.25 on 4 exams. With distinction is a 3.5 on 3 or more, on at least 5 of the exams, and then they have a national AP scholar, which they score at least a 4 on 8 or more of these exams. So we had 12 of those students. So we'll have some students, we've had some students take up to like 15, 16, 17 AP courses while they've been here. So they take a lot of the classes. And these were their average scores for that. And this number, the 195, that is a nice increase over the last few years. So this slide I put in the 2015 presentation, and these check marks are all the things that we've accomplished. We worked through APTIP. We've added Physics C in the last few years. We added the principles of computer science. We wanted to get it to 1,300 tests. We're almost at 1,500 now. We wanted to get 900 tests given in a single year. We've got through that. Our teachers have taken care of the professional development. We have them rotating through and going off to different summer institutes and different professional development to help them increase their knowledge of the subject matter and become better teachers. We're also having several of our teachers are becoming AP readers. The AP consists of 2 parts, a multiple choice and a free response. Those teachers are able to go and grade that free response part, so it gives them a very in-depth knowledge of how to grade and what AP is looking for. So again, it's that human capital we're building with our teachers. We've integrated the PSAT potential that's gone out to the teachers. So when we get the PSAT, College Board does analysis of what scores on PSAT translates into success onto advanced placement. So we get that into the teacher's hands, and we have a teacher recommendation process where we can help guide and tap some students on the shoulder and say, hey, we think that you should get into the AP program. And pending your questions, that completes my briefing.
Any questions for Mr. Bailey?
Sure. So Sean, you have some really good numbers here, I believe. What is the gold standard, I guess I would call
Well,
it?
the state of Indiana has recognized all the schools that have 25% or higher of their
I'm
cohort.
sorry, what did you say?
The state of Indiana recognizes all the schools that have 25% of the cohort earning a 3 or higher. And we've been recognized for several years now for that. And you get.
I remember Mr. Slager came, I think.
Yeah, that was the one year I didn't go down and get the award.
Oh, is that
Yeah.
what it was? So, okay. So that, my next question.
So he got the award, and you remember him getting the award. You don't remember me going to get the award?
Well, that.
I got my
leads me to
picture. I
next
got my
question.
picture with Dr. McCormick.
Yes, I have seen that. Yes, I have. But I didn't know it was for multiple years.
In multiple years, yes.
So is that information out there on our website?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a picture of me with Mr. Smith
No,
and
I've
Dr.
I've
McCormick.
seen the one. I've seen the one, but is it the building, like some of your, maybe I'm the only geek that would be interested in some of this stuff, the progress and the growth? The AP scholars, is that on there, or what? I think that's what you called it.
The AP scholars, yeah.
Is that on our website?
You know what, that will be part of our strategic dashboard, those AP scores.
Yeah, we need to celebrate that stuff. I mean, is it in the lobby? I mean, I don't know that.
If you come into our main office and there's a boat-shaped bookcase that
In
one of
your
our
office?
in our office, and it has all right inside the front door, and we have several of those awards placed prominently for all our visitors to come and see.
But that's only if you go in the office though, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so I'm just thinking of people going into the hallways, coming in for music events or athletic events, trying to celebrate some of that good stuff that's happening. Trying to get it out of the office if possible, so people can see it, and maybe you just make a replica of it, I don't know, but, sounds like teachers are working very hard and students
Yeah,
are also.
it is a multi-year, and when we just talk about AP teachers, this is a multi-year, multi-level effort. It's the middle school, elementary teachers working with those students, getting them ready. And we've done a lot of vertical alignment. Mrs. Castaneda has done a lot of work with getting the middle school and the high school courses synchronized. So those students are going through multiple years, and that capstone event is that AP class, their junior, senior, sophomore year. And we do have our students taking it freshman year.
So again.
But the bulk of it is their junior, senior year. And it comes from a lot of people working hard.
Just to get that message out there and to know that it will be part of the dashboard, it will be really great. But to celebrate it, it sounds like people are working very hard. And I think that this is probably, when I see a sign on the door that says, I can't remember the term, A push, meet Mr. Clark's room, is that AP US?
That's AP US History.
And they do that on Saturday mornings?
AP Hug is AP Human Geography.
Okay.
AP Chem, they all got their nicknames.
And they do that on
Yeah, and AP
Saturdays?
Chem is kind of, that's morphed into, we take a group of students out of the AP Chem, we go down to Wash U every year,
Yes.
and we take part in that chemistry competition. So it turns into nice experiences. The government class, we're going up to Hamilton on October 30th to see that.
Musical, you mean?
The musical, it's got, if you want a chaperone on that. I'm driving a bus if you want to come on that one.
Yes, I do.
All right, you're volunteering me, I guess I gotta go.
So it's not just a,
Hamilton or South Suburban? Yeah, I think I'd rather go to Hamilton.
I think that's the day of the Cinderella.
That's, yeah,
Gotta pick, you choose.
that'd
you
be
have to
between
vote.
Cinderella and Hamilton, I'll take Hamilton. Any other questions?
No, just to celebrate the good work that's
Yeah.
happening.
Yeah, congratulations.
Great job.
That's a great job.
Thank you. Joe?
All right.
Okay, the next item is to seek your approval of the professional leave requests that were in the packet.
So moved.
We have a motion from Dr. Malkow,
Second?
and a second from Ms. Suze. Any comments or questions regarding those leave requests? All right, let's take a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you, and the final item is to seek your approval for the field trip requests that were also in your packet. This would be the Washington one.
This would be the Washington.
Are you going, Don? Move to approve.
Motion from Ms. Suze, and I will second that motion, and I would definitely consider chaperoning that one. Any comments or questions regarding the field trips? All right, hearing none, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Moving on to our Director of Student Services, Becky Corvallo.
My first item is to seek your approval for the professional leave requests that were included in your packet.
Move to approve.
We have a motion from Ms. Suze, and I will second that motion. Any comments or questions? All right, let's take a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
And for my second item, I just wanted to give you some updates on professional development that has been happening with staff members under my umbrella this year. So first, for our ELL program, we have our EL teachers have conducted half-day trainings for both our EL paraprofessionals and our reading specialists who serve as our liaisons at the building level. And that was related to expectations for their roles, the documentation we're required to keep, and also effective strategies for working with students. So we've completed that. We have coming up, they will be conducting building trainings in every building for all of the teachers who work with students who are English learners. And that's required through our Title III and our NESP. And then our EL teachers have been attending training sponsored by WIDA. These are organized through the state, and WIDA is the consortium that develops the assessment for ELs. And those were related to, we had 2 teachers go to a 2-day workshop on scaffolding learning for students who are English language learners. And then you just approved a workshop for 2 of our other teachers to go to a training related to writing for multilingual students. So those are nice opportunities. There's no cost for the actual training. We do have to pay the travel costs, but it's nice that the state supports those for us. And then within special education, we've had a lot going on here on site. We brought in a trainer from Unique Learning Systems. That's the curriculum we use for our students with more significant cognitive disabilities. So we had 24 staff members participate in that, and that's training related to their curriculum, and also some new, it's a technology-based curriculum, but there's some new assessment pieces that they've built into that. And so that was helpful for us as we try to find more authentic and meaningful ways to assess the students and be able to provide feedback to their parents about how they are improving. Along that same line, we had 10 staff members who are all our elementary teachers participate in a half-day training with a consultant from Project Success. That's a state-supported resource center for us in special education. And that was related to formative assessment for our students with more significant cognitive disabilities. And again, how can we conduct that formative assessment to guide our instruction and improve what we're doing with our students? We'll be working with that same consultant and that same group of teachers again in February, looking at the content connectors, which are their alternate standards, and unpacking those, and then how can we guide our instruction a little bit better. And then lastly, last week we had a consultant from PRC, which is a company that supports us in our use of LAMP and Words for Life, which are, I've talked about them in previous board meetings, but those are protocols designed to teach language to students who are nonverbal. And so because we've established, thanks to two of our speech therapists, Beth Hall and Jenna Blaine, have really worked to establish a relationship with this company and their consultant, we get some nice free training for our staff. So Beth Browning is our rep that works for that company, and she was here for 2 days last week. And she worked with, she met with a team on site at Homan and a team at Watson, and really worked with them regarding their individual students and how we can support those students better. And then she conducted 2 large group trainings here at the high school, one with all of our speech language pathologists, and then one with about 20 teachers. And those were teachers and staff members who are using the LAMP protocol and Words for Life in their classroom. We didn't pay for any of it. And then in the evening, we had a parent training. So parents where our staff members have supported, we conduct evaluations and support the family in getting funding through Medicaid for dedicated speech devices for their students. And so then we're able to facilitate bringing those parents in, because we know that if they only use it while they're here with us and there is no carryover at home, they're not going to get the most language out of the students. So we had 8 parents come, which is a pretty good turnout for us. It's a small group of students who use these devices, but we had 8 parents who were here, and they were able to meet with the therapist and Beth, the rep from the company, and get some nice support too. So we're a little bit sad because our rep that we've worked with, their company has grown so much that they're dividing her territory. So we will have a new person on staff coming in the spring, but Beth has promised she's going to bring that person back. So whoever that new hire is knows what we're doing here and knows kind of how we're used to working with Beth. So hopefully we'll be able to continue with that. But yeah, like I said, we didn't pay for any of that, and that's a lot of development for our staff, and they're really excited, and we see great gains in our students when we're able to implement this program with fidelity. So it's very exciting for us. I will. That's all I have.
Well, when you have the teachers out, how are we doing with substitutes?
That's an issue. So we did, obviously our speech therapists we don't have to replace. Typically in these classrooms we have a sub-certified para who replaces the teacher, and then we're hopefully able to get a sub-para. But for this type of training, oftentimes they're just kind of going a little short-handed and getting through.
I know. Is it better now that the salary has been increased?
It ebbs and flows.
No, LAMP sounds really interesting.
It is, and I was thinking as I was preparing this today, maybe I'll have some of the therapists come and just show you what it looks like at a future meeting, because it's very exciting, but it's something you have to see to understand. Okay.
It always catches my eye as like LAMP? Because it's such an odd name.
It's Language Acquisition and Motor Planning. That's what it stands for.
Thank you.
You're welcome, thank you.
Moving on, our Director of Business Services, James.
Thank you, Mr. Baxel. My first item is to seek your approval for the donations that were included in your board packet.
So moved.
I have a motion from Dr. Malcolm, and I will second that motion. Any comments or questions regarding our donations? Okay, hearing none, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you. And then my second item was just to give the board our ADM numbers. And in your board packet, I had that broken down by school, which prompted a little email discussion back and forth today amongst the board. And so in your workstations, I've also broken those numbers down by grade level, comparing last year's numbers to this year's numbers. And so we are down 45 students from last year, district-wide. But as I noted to the board earlier, this was not unforeseen, as we had a large cohort of students graduating last year. And we have a little bit of a fifth grade bubble that is lower. And so in 4 years, the high school number will go down a little bit there as well. And if you look at the handout I had at your station, our fifth grade numbers and our sixth grade numbers are, significantly lower than our seventh and eighth grade. And if you start doing the math a little bit back, 2008, 2009, economy tanked, recession, people start cutting back on costs, not having as many kids. That's directly related to how this progresses through school districts down the road. So, happy times, the numbers start going back up. That's all I'm going to say. Take a look at the numbers, and if you have any further questions.
So we probably lost, around 250,000, not having that drop.
Well, it's about $6,000 per kid, but again, we in essence saw this coming. We sometimes we said earlier, we had kids that transfer in, transfer out all the time. You'll see that our ninth grade number is always higher than our eighth grade number from the prior years, because we have kids coming from the parochial schools coming here to high school. How many of those are actually going to, be here? It's hard to tell each year. They make their own decisions. But the big number is the kindergarten roundup that goes on in March, and that really kind of gives us an idea of how we're going to be, presuming that most of the other numbers are going to be steady. But our kindergarten, as you can see, our kindergarten number increased this year compared to, our last few years. So that will work its way through the system as well.
Do you think that the numbers at the K-4 level will increase because of our development that's going on down here in St. John?
Sure. That's one of the areas that, we used a demographer a few years ago, analyzing households, birth rates, death rates, open land that could develop. But honestly, it's more of an influx of people moving in than it is the development. And we are seeing, we continue to see people coming from Illinois, coming into not only our district, but some of the other surrounding school districts that are really starting to increase our numbers. So, but yeah, we're happy with the kindergarten numbers, and as long as we have space for them.
Another thing that happens also is that our athletes get offers from private schools after middle school. Mount Carmel, Brea,
Sure.
Yeah.
and that impacts us.
It doesn't happen. Well, thank you very much for the
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Anything else?
That's all I have.
Thank you. All right, I don't think we have any public comments this evening, so we'll move on to board comments and consideration of future agenda items, and Dr. Malcolm.
Just the one agenda topic that I think I mentioned earlier, if we want to do letters to our legislators or state leaders. And I wanted to make the board members aware that the American School Board Association annual conference this year is in Chicago, and I believe that's in April. So it would be very convenient to take the train in, or take the train home.
Yes, it is. It is.
And I think we have some athletic teams going to some additional competitions this weekend.
We have soccer will be at semi-state, they'll play Noblesville at the Kokomo set, the semi-state, and then the boys and girls cross-country team will be participating in the semi-state in New Prairie.
Right, and then I think the band is down
The
somewhere.
band just got back from Isma up in,
We're doing the BOA Super Regional this weekend, wherever it is. It might be
Yes.
ending, I'm not sure.
and we got a jazz concert tomorrow.
Yeah. No, that's all, just wanted to make you aware of the ASBA conference in April, so.
Thank you. Ms. Susan?
I do have a couple things. I wanted to give a shout out to Mr. Beck. He coordinated a workshop between the LC students and the local unions for an informational trades day. I believe there was about 80 students that met with the coordinator from the Construction Advancement Foundation. They showed them the application process and they discussed the interviewing process and the questions that would be asked to the candidates. They were also there to show them how they can go about getting free classes and to about learning about safety as well as OSHA certification. Mr. Beck has encouraged participation at the 3rd Annual Construction Skilled Trade Day, which is on November 19th. And any student interested in the career in the skilled trades, they should possibly go to this because there are going to be at least 15 different trades in attendance. So, and good luck to the boys soccer and for all those students in, people going to Washington DC, have a fun, great time.
Sounds
Safe,
really good
safe
time.
travels.
Yeah, safe. I'm just gonna say, again, thank you to the grant recipients. Thank you very much for everything you do, and I mean, all in your extracurricular time and all volunteer time. Thank you very much. And, yeah, good luck to our sports teams this weekend. And hopefully they can come back with their championships. Moving on to our board calendar of future activities, Dr. Barasco.
Okay, in addition to all those other things that we've talked about, we also have a Northwest Indiana Coalition for Public Education meeting next Monday, the 28th at 6 o'clock at Merrillville High School. And we've pushed that out to our certified staff. Hopefully we get some people in attendance at that meeting. And then our next meeting will be here, November 4th, same time, same location. And then, as we spoke about earlier, send out a message to all 5 board members for executive session on October 28th and November 5th at 6:30, if all 5 of you are able to attend. I'll send an email out tomorrow.
So Larry, where's the location of the NWICP?
Door J, I believe.
Okay.
Oh, Maryville High School?
Mm-hmm.
All right. I'm looking for a motion to adjourn.
Move to approve.
Motion from Ms. Susan.
And I'll second that.
And a second from Dr. Valco. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.